Hey surfers, it is Sunday, August 5th, and with the market Nasdaq, the futures are at 7402, 7406. The S&P 500 is at 2840, and a lot happened this past week. We have Google earnings, Amazon earnings, Apple earnings, China saying that they're gonna, retaliate on the tariffs, and then Trump saying that he's gonna increase it, and then we had Facebook earnings. So a lot happened, especially in the Nasdaq. And during this, we actually made a new high up here, going into some EU concessions, right? So there's actually here we have some EU concessions, and the market, traded up into the close, and then after the close, Facebook reported earnings, boom, right? So that's what happened in Nasdaq. Amazon reported earnings. It was, it was good, but initially dropped down and then went back up, and then the next day it just plummeted. And then also Apple reported earnings, and of course Tesla reported earnings around here, and just basically what happened when it pulled back into this area around the time Apple had earnings, or actually 2 days before Apple had earnings. You can see, if you zoom out here, you can sort of make out of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a drop right into this support area, right? So this previous resistance right here around 7150, 7170, it had a strong reaction from. So now this is not a typical, way a bottom would happen. Like, it just jumps and then, rebounds, but it retested that area, and that was right at the market open when Trump announced that he would increase tariffs even further after China said that they're going to retaliate. So overnight, China said they would retaliate. Market goes down. The next morning, he says he's going to, increase even further, and the market goes up. So it almost seems like the market believes the U.S. is going to win a trade war, and anything that and any time China threatens to do something, it's almost like a couple hours later, it's like a buying opportunity. At least that's how the market has consistently reacted. So it seems like the market likes this trade war. Now with the S&P 500, this is similar timing. And I was just talking about the concessions from the EU that made that market high. Facebook reported earnings, went down, and then Amazon reported earnings. Actually, this one should be here. So Amazon reported earnings here. Apple reported earnings here. China was going to retaliate, and then Trump makes his response, and the market likes it. So right now we have what looks like this was the area of fourth wave support, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this 4, 5, and then 4, and then 5, right? So this area has been support, and this area of 2795, right? So that has been support, and then it basically went to what, 2791 off of the China news. So it retested this zone right there. Actually, I was expecting it to go a little bit lower. I thought it was going to go more to 2785, and it actually spent what, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So it didn't even spend much market time there. In fact, well, once the market opened, it pretty much just went straight up. So it didn't have a chance to retest. I thought, this looked like a 1, 2, 3, and I thought we get a 4, 5 before this happened, but it looks like it happened earlier than I expected. But that said, once we saw that momentum here, we were able to trigger a buy alert and ride this at least to the close, half of it, and the other half through into the weekend. And right now the market seems very strong and ready to retest that high. So that's the S&P 500 futures. The Nasdaq, we're a little bit weaker, so we're not as close. However, with these blowout Apple earnings, I'm going to show Apple chart in just a minute, where they hit the $1 trillion mark, but it right now looks very, quite strong, where you have this typical pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC, right? And this wave 2 got support right here, got a good strong response, pull back, and this was the fourth wave resistance, right? Fourth wave support, and it actually went lower than it. So the Nasdaq went lower than the S&P. So the S&P surprisingly held very strongly here in that, but that same pattern with the Nasdaq pulled back further, and that's possibly due to Facebook earnings. Even with strong reports, it wasn't until Apple as well as the Trump news came out and with China retaliating that the market showed strength afterwards. Now, so that's the Nasdaq chart. It looks very promising going into next week. Of course, it's August, so you want to keep in mind that volume can be low as a lot of people are on vacation. We have Apple. Apple has $1 trillion mark, made headlines around 207, and Apple reported earnings, blew it out. And that's, if you look at it, it's actually an all-time high, right? So we have Apple there. Amazon also did well, though it did pull back during this time. Tesla was a huge, in a way, I would say fairly predictable based on the pattern. And so if you draw this, you could either have, we have some pullback from 370, right? And if you count this as either ABC, AB 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, ABC 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then followed by response here, and then 1, 2 into earnings, right? So that's one way to look at it. This was kind of like a 1, 2, 3. I guess you could say this is like a 4, 5, but this drop here made it clear that something was turning, and we hit resistance around this area, tested it twice, and then it failed. And the next support area is in this region, and so it looks like we hit that support region. Elon Musk gave out earnings, and it did well. Actually, the earnings were negative, and I actually want to point that out. So there were a couple clues. So this is, here's some of the news items that he said in the conference call. They expect to be profitable going forward, right? This is after they just posted one of their bigger losses, and he said we've been in semi-stealth mode, and it's time to let the cat out of the bag. What's he talking about? He's talking about the Tesla AI chip, right? So they used to depend on NVIDIA actually they still are, but they now on the side have developed their own hardware that's capable of handling 200. No, NVIDIA's hardware can handle this much, but this chip, the Tesla chip, can handle 2,000 frames per second with full redundancy and failover, whatever that means. So it seems like they're going to be able to secure their future and not rely on NVIDIA. And for any business that is able to do that, that's always a good thing. And so whenever you combine that with a few pieces of information that were clues, right? So actually 2 days before, I was just watching on CNBC, and they had this analyst guy, and he was one of the guys that Elon Musk was kind of attacking. And here's what he said in that video, and it was very telling. Okay, well, it seems like I can't play the audio at the same time, but basically he says, I would like, he's expecting an apology from Tesla. And I thought about, well, what if he apologizes, then everybody's going to see him as not a crazy person. And so this whole negative, drop in the market from here all the way down to here, 370 to below 300, I thought that would be, the market would like that if he apologized. I thought there was good chance, especially because this guy said that he expected it, right? This guy said he would expected it, then that he would apologize and that would do it. And the second thing he said was that he's actually expecting positive things from the call. So he doesn't want this what he said last time to kind of overshadow the positives of what he sees. So if an analyst who was potentially critical of Tesla is now positive, I thought that was also another positive sign. So these are two signs, along with the chart pattern that combined gave me conviction to hold on to my losing call that I entered. I don't remember where, somewhere here, and I added to it right before the earnings call, and so that was I was able to exit at around this the market open here, as well as at over 352 the next day. Um, and so I thought that was very notable. Just piecing together clues from what the market expectation is, and the expectation you could judge based on price action into earnings, and then number two, based on what sentiment changes could be happening. And so you could see that by looking at patterns, by combining it with news items, and some of this is it's like available a few days before the earnings call, so it's not like there's immediate surprises. You could judge it based on how the market's reacting to it, and combined with the fact that we had lots of kind of uh, very positive news in terms of Apple the day before, Amazon doing well, even though Facebook and I think what Netflix didn't do well. So here's Netflix, and basically dropped heavily, though it seems like it could be a good buying opportunity here, right? So we gapped down here, went even further below there, but right now it's testing it once, and so the question is if it can test it a second time and then break through and then resume the uptrend. So that's basically what I'm seeing there. Microsoft has been continuously very strong. Facebook got destroyed, but you look at the gap fill, right? So you see this is a resistance right here, and it turns out to be support, right? So that's an important level. Further, if this were to get below over here, there would be a gap fill at 160. So if for whatever reason this thing drops to 160, I would be a buyer at 160. But right now it looks like it's might not make it there. So I don't expect it to go straight up, but it should consolidate and resume the uptrend. So that's what I see for Facebook. Lastly, for Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin has been in the dumpster after getting rejected by the Winklevoss ETF. That's basically here. It rebounded, and everybody said, "Oh, it's fine," but then drop again, retest, fails, and then drops again. And then there's more positive news, but right now, let's see, AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like it didn't finish there. I thought this would end it, but if you actually look at it, at the Fibonacci, so I drew some Fibonacci things retraced from the bottom, and let's see. So basically, here's the zero mark at around 5,800. Here's the 100 mark at 8,500, and the 61.8% retrace right here is around 67.85. So that's what this line right here, 67.85, 6,800. So it looks like it could 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it pulls back here, this would be the 61.8 golden ratio retrace. It's also possible that anything in this range generally should be a buying opportunity, assuming this pattern holds. But this is a little bit further than I've expected. So we'll have to see if all the positive news that came out will actually show up as a reflection in the stock price. Right now, it's pulled back significantly, but it did pull back to close to between the 50 percentile 50% retrace 0.5 here and the 61.8. So this region here is very important for Bitcoin to hold in order to resume the market reversal. Ethereum has not been doing as well as Bitcoin. And so we'll have to see. Right now, it's I saw an article with Bitcoin claiming something like 50% of the crypto market cap percentages. So meaning all the altcoins are doing like shit. But basically, we'll have to see if the altcoins can recover. Right now, first we have to see if Bitcoin will do so, since that's the one that's strongest. So that is the update for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And just one last look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq again with all the earnings: Amazon, Google, Facebook, Apple, and then the tariff news. And it looks like the market likes that. And going into next week, it does look at least a chance to test the new highs once again. So that's it, traders. I'll see you guys next time.